Alright, so I think this is a recording. We now have a problem here, number 14, that has a new set of directions. And these problems are a little more difficult than the others, but hopefully with enough practice they become easier. We have to understand the directions and understand them very well. My final answer should contain only positive exponents, and I think that is very clear. That means I cannot have negative exponents. Now, the rest of this, however, it says no fractional exponents in the denominator. So with positive exponent, we might have to move exponents that have, bases that have a negative exponent. To get that to be a positive exponent, we may have to move that base to the denominator. Now, if we're in the denominator, our exponent can't be a fraction like 1/2 or 2/3 or 5/4. It has to be an integer value, a number like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, so forth. We're going to use multiple properties here to get our final answer. I can see here when I have a power raised to a power, if you have some base and it has an exponent, and that is being raised to an exponent, you multiply these exponents. If you have a base raised to an exponent and you have the same base raised to a different exponent, here we add these two exponents together. If we have a base raised to an exponent divided by the same base raised to a different exponent, we take the exponent in the numerator and we subtract the exponent in the denominator. If it's not letting me select that. If I have a base raised to a negative exponent, it will not make my answer negative. What I can do is take that base and change the location of where it's at within the fraction. Right now, that base is in the numerator. If I move that base to the denominator, I have to change the sign of the exponent. This says the opposite of m, this will be m. And I just put the one that was there, the fraction flipped. And when I flip the fraction, I have to change the sign of the exponent. Those are the properties that we're going to use to get our answer. So that's going to make this a little more complicated because we have multiple things that we have to be able to do to this. Let's try and attack it and see what we have here. First, I have a power raised to a power. So I'm going to multiply the exponents together. When you multiply fractions, when you have 7/4 times a negative 1/2, it's much easier than adding fractions because all we do is multiply straight across the numerator and straight across in the denominator. So the positive 7 times a negative 1 is negative 7. Positive 4 times a positive 2, hey, that's positive 8. So now there's a dot there that's implying multiplication. We don't always have to write that. It's implied if it's not there. When we have a base raised to a power times the same base raised to a power, we add the exponents together. Now this you may want to do with your calculator. If we add, when we're adding fractions, we need a common denominator. Well, we need to rewrite 2 so that it's also a fraction. Let's write it as 2/1. But that denominator of 1, I need that to have the same denominator here. I need the denominators to be common. So we do a familiar trick. We're going to multiply this by the number 1, but we're going to write 1 as 8 divided by 8. What that is going to get us, we have our negative 7/8. When you multiply fractions, you just multiply the numerators together and you multiply the denominators. 2 times 8 is 16. 1 times 8 is 8. Now that I have the same denominator, I can just add these numerators together. So what is negative 7 plus a positive 16? Well, let's carry that over here. 16 minus 7 is 9. I tried to pause it because sometimes you hear the intercom or the bells, and I don't want that to distract you. Now, really, this one is easier than the one that we did today because I don't have any variables in the denominator. I don't have, it said no fractional exponents, but in the denominator, hey, this is in the numerator. So I'm good to go here. This is my final answer. So it's easier than I thought it was going to be. Today's problem number 14 on the prep was a little more difficult, and I'm going to create a video of those solutions and stuff tonight as well. Alright, so I think I have one more to do.